Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan. I'm your host. Welcome to another episode. My blue collar badass, Matt. How's it going?
It's awesome, Dylan. It is a wonderful time of year in Michigan here. It's deer hunting season. The weather's been friggin' crazy last week. It was in the mid 70s over the weekend, and now it's back down to where it belongs. So it's 50s in the daytime and 30s at night. But it's good, man.
Yeah, I was just in sunny San Diego for the last week. It was for the first couple of days, it was actually like overcast and foggy, which is an anomaly if you've ever been to San Diego. My first time, but that's what I hear. And then it was, just sunny and 70, beautiful blue skies. And the coolest thing is which I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but there were three aircraft carriers docked in San Diego at the time. So plus the museum. So there's technically four aircraft carriers docked in San Diego.
Yeah, man. I saw your pictures. Those were pretty wild.
Yeah, those are big boats. But without further ado, guys, our guest today is Dillon Mercier, who specializes in site development, underground utilities, erosion control, and got his bachelor's in construction management from Eastern Michigan. And we'll get into what got him into the big wide world of construction, especially of site construction, utilities, earth moving, all that kind of good stuff. And what brought him into it, and why he started D2 contracting. So without further ado, Dillon, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me. I look forward to our conversation here.
Absolutely, man. So I'll just kind of jump in right out of the gate. So we're going to call Dillon Mercier guest Dillon because we have two Dillons and they both have a last name that starts with M. So the only way we keep it organized is guest Dillon and host Dillon. So host Dillon, just some quick backstory. You've seen my office or maybe you haven't seen it, but we're in downtown Brighton. Guest Dillon showed up at our office one day, about a month ago?
Yeah, it was late August, early September.
Okay. Just popped in, new guy in town or new guy in the game, and came in to introduce himself. We actually kind of passed in the stairwell. I didn't even know who the hell he was. He talked to one of my guys on my team. I came back after being gone for a couple hours, and my teammate there was like, "Bro, you got to talk to this guy. He's a young buck. He is aggressive. He speaks well. He's wanting to get in the game." And so, anyways, we kind of connected on a introductory business level, first. But as we're pushing back to kind of doing more interview-based shows, I thought, who better to bring on than a local guy who's grinding it out. So again, welcome. Glad we could make this work.
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to it.
So, guest Dillon, why don't you kind of give us a run through on you? Like what's your history? You got some pretty cool accolades going on here, owning your own company at, I'm guessing you're in your mid 20s.
yes, 24. Yep.
Okay. So that's awesome. First of all, congrats. It takes balls of solid rock to take that leap at that age, especially.
Yes, sir.
What got you started? What even interested you in construction? Did you do it in your younger youth, or how'd you get here?
Yeah. So, we'll go back 10 years or so. My parents are business owners. So I've always been, I've always had the entrepreneur spirit. I've always, if you're going to do something, do it yourself and do it the right way. My parents started a business, or my dad started a business back in 2007. Great time to start a business. And for a long time, he always was in, sales regarding, it was always residential sales. So siding, windows, roofs, and always made a really good living doing that. But growing up, he always told my grandpa, his dad, which is, I've always thought is weird and off the wall, but, everybody's different. He always told my grandpa growing up, one day I'm going to be a painter. I'm going to start a painting company. And, he did just that. 2007, they opened a business called Rhino Shield. It's an exterior paint coating. And what separates them from any Joe Schmo that, you know, does exterior residential painting is the fact that their product is what they would call superior to your typical paint product. It's got a 25-year transferable warranty. It's a 3M ceramic coating. It's great for the industrial space and also the commercial space, a lot of block buildings. But pretty much it's just an indestructible paint. Whereas like, you know, your basic Sherwin-Williams paint or commercial grade paint is anywhere between like 1 to 2 mils thick. And don't quote me on that. It's been a long time since I've been with my dad and doing that kind of stuff. Where his product is 4 to 6 mils thick. So, you know, his selling point is, so it's got a better R value. You get that 25-year warranty, and it's going to look good for 25 years. And I can back him on that. It looks good. I mean, the houses he did back in 2007, 2008 still look beautiful to this day. And they've done a tremendous job. I was very lucky growing up. Obviously, you know, 2007, 2008 was hard. Going into 2009, 2010, I remember, you know, we were penny pinchers hard, and my parents did a lot to get by, but that's what, I mean, now look at me today, I'm doing the same thing. They were able to really grow their business and add on to that business by opening up a couple different sister companies. And now they, like I said, do really well for themselves. And you know, it's helped me a lot too, to be able to see what they do. And I also spent a good amount of time working with them throughout college until it was about time to start doing internships and get out there more for what I was trying to go for. My first taste of real construction, ground up construction, not just your siding and gutters and concrete coatings and concrete finishing. And when I say finishing, I mean like polishing, not actually finishing. That was really where I got, you know, where I grew the work ethic. And then my first job in the construction space was for a residential home builder local to the Livingston County area. I was just wrapping up high school. I spent the summer with them. I learned a ton. And that's where I saw my first piece of heavy equipment, you know, in real time. I would, you know, I'd be out on site and see the site work guys in a residential setting, you know, digging basements, doing backfills, final grades, rough grades, septics, water sewer hookups, that kind of thing. And I was always interested, like, you know, and the guys would leave for the day or something, and I'd hop in the machine and just kind of sit in and be like, wow, this thing's really cool. Like this, I'd love to do something like this. And never really made that jump to ever go attack something like that. Just always knew I'm so interested in this stuff and not so much the framing, the finishes, the roofing. Like it was cool, don't get me wrong, but my interest was always on the excavators, the dozers, the skids, all that. Which led me to a landscape job that my cousin owns down in Ann Arbor. Very successful landscape company. And that's when I got a chance to run my first skid steer. And ever since then, it's just been just a wild ride. I did that for a while. And I think I spent a summer with them, and I was doing a lot of skid steer work for them, a lot of new yard installs, a lot of grading. And then throughout college, I got a couple internships with numerous GCs and construction management firms across Southeast Michigan. I learned a lot, but again, being on those sites, I was always drawn towards the site work guys. Hey, what are the site work guys doing today? What are the paving guys doing today? Let's go out there and watch that. And it kind of just spiraled out of control from there. I graduated college. I got a job doing land clearing. I was doing a lot of land clearing with the land clearing contractor, helping him run his business. And that's when I put 2 and 2 together and say, hey, we can do something with this. We have cool machines. We do cool stuff. Let's get into social media. Let's start an Instagram page. Let's do a YouTube. Let's see if people like this. And very quickly, I realized that people like this stuff. I liked it as well. And I'd post videos and make these videos, drone videos. And I've always kind of been into photography and videography. I got my first drone back in 2017 when drones were really just drones weren't a thing, and everybody, if you did have a drone, people were like, "What is that? And what are you doing with that?" Um, and I built a huge following with that company. I ended up leaving that company late last year, and kind of was in a weird place where I was like, I really want to do this on my own. I'm probably not totally ready for this, but I'm ambitious. Um, and I just kind of took the leap. I talked with my parents, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, but part of me thinks that I'm, not unemployable, but just what I've grown up doing and been around, from an entrepreneur standpoint, I just always wanted to be the one in charge and managing, and my construction management degree helped me a lot with that, being able to kind of not fast track the whole management side of things, but it opened my eyes to really see like, okay, there's a lot that goes into this. It's not just I'm going to go get a skid steer and do some work. Because if it weren't for that construction management degree and I would have just got it, went out and got a skid steer and started doing some work, I don't think I'd be here today. That skid steer would probably be gone, and I'd probably be back, working for my parents, or doing what I was intending on doing with my degree. Um, and and July, middle of July, I said screw it. I opened up an LLC, and ever since then, the rest is history. I just continue to grind day in and day out and see what I can do.
Well, first of all, dude, that's the story's awesome. Dillon over here, host Dillon, is laughing because it's almost identical to my story, other than the fact that you went into earthwork.
Yeah.
Um, I built houses coming out of high school, put
Okay.
myself through college building houses. I am the most unemployable mother effer you will ever meet. I have worked for people before. It does not sit well with me.
Yeah.
So we got very similar paths, but I won't beat that up too much today, man. But that's congrats, first of all, because it's
Thank you.
a
Thank you.
huge step. It is what we need in this industry, right? We
Yes.
need young people coming in and showing everyone else that this shit's still possible, right? You can make
Mhm.
a good living doing blue collar work, trade work, and you're doing it, on both sides, promoting through your social accounts and everything you do, plus running an actual business, which we'll get more into here shortly. But
Yes, of
it's
course.
just awesome, man.
I
So
appreciate it.
congrats on that end.
Yeah, thank you. You as well. It takes a lot, as you know.
I wouldn't have it any other way. You
Yeah,
know,
I
I,
wouldn't.
the dirt stuff, man. We bought a skid steer finally last year,
I saw
and
that. Yeah.
my guys hate it because I bring it back to my house as much as I can. They're like, dude, can we get it back on the site? We need the damn thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm cutting up wood and, clearing land that shouldn't be cleared at my house and just making a mess. But there's a reason I probably didn't go into moving dirt professionally. And that's why, but it's a lot of
Yeah.
fun, man.
It is. It is extremely fun. The power you feel in those machines is unlike any other. I can't explain it. It's fun, it's exciting, it's something new every day. And the bad days as a business owner outweigh any of the amazing days working for somebody else. And I don't mean that in a sense, because there's a need for people, you know, to work for others. It's just that was not me, and obviously it wasn't you either. And there's also a need for people like you and I, business owners. And Dillon, I don't know your whole backstory, but yeah, there's a need for both sides.
Absolutely. And I'll let Dillon fill in his story, but he's of a similar, cut from a similar cloth, different side of the table, but real close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really goes into like your risk tolerance, right? So like for me, so quick little backstory. So I'm an electrical engineer, designed buildings, did $750 million worth of like buildings, most of which I've signed and sealed as an electrical engineer, licensed
Awesome.
in 5 states currently. And through that, managed a team of 10 at the highest of electrical guys. And then did really my last year, we did about $50 million roughly a year in healthcare. So that was my last year in like MEP firms was
Wow.
what I was in charge of. And then we did probably another 40 million in higher education projects, 40, 50 million, something like that, in higher ed projects. And I was managed all the healthcare stuff and then just signed and sealed all the electrical drawings for higher ed. And through that, much like you guys, and it's not that it can't work for people, it's that the rate of change in which I want organizations to move is not typically in line with the rate that they want to move.
Yeah.
So, like, I built software to automate what I did as a day job and putting together drawings and blueprints, and the speed at which I can move now through a project. I shave like weeks to months off of projects,
Wow.
and using software to automate a lot of the drafting and design and the things that as a senior engineer I was still doing,
Yeah.
which is, like as they'd say in the military, beneath my pay grade, is, doing those types of things to where, um, again, my billable rate being what it was should not have been drafting, right? It should have been engineering, should have been project management, should have been meeting with clients, not actually, drafting projects. And I think that's where, when we relate that back to business, there's a lot of things that business owners end up doing, which they just should not be doing. There's most business owners should be uh, doing deals, signing contracts,
Yes.
doing sales, doing speeches and presentations. They should not be, what I see most architecture and engineering firm guys doing. They're in the trenches. They're, working on projects, doing work on projects, quote, billable hours, which frankly is not the best use of their time. As they move up the ladder, they should be closing more deals, signing more prospects, promoting culture, promoting core values, all those types of things, which frankly, as in design firms and similar in construction firms, but they tend to be a little better about that. On the contracting side is, at least on the GC side from everything I've seen, but like most of them go from doers to just like higher level doers, but not in the sense of like they're doing more overview, but they never really move out of day-to-day project work.
Mhm.
So they can't see above that kind of everyday type of environment. And that's what really, I think, holds a lot of uh, architecture engineering firms back versus like, again, most of the GCs that I worked with, they had people that were dedicated to like, they knew that they were business development guys, whatever they title you want to give them, like account executive or some special title. So most of the GCs that we worked with, they were much better in getting people out of like the day to day of like project engineer work and site superintendent. Like everybody had a specific role and a specific thing, and engineering firms by and large, and the design side of the table really didn't do that. And I could see that clear through in every firm that I worked for. So in the three firms that I worked with and what friends, I had across the industry, like that was always the typical thing, is that people really never raised above their day-to-day work as they progressed through a firm, right? It was, they kept doing the same old stuff. A lot of that is the responsibility and signatories that have to go into projects, right? You still have to sign and seal drawings, which you don't on the contracting side.
Yes.
So it's kind of my background and what I see in the industry in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But I guess my question to you in that, what you've gone through and kind of the transition here in the last 3 months is, one is, are did you just start with a skid steer? Was that your first purchase, your first thing in starting on the land clearing side, or do you start with multiple pieces of equipment?
So this is and I left this part out. So I, always was drawn to heavy equipment. About a little over a year ago, being that my dad, again, entrepreneur, I thought, okay, that's when I was like, I want to do this on my own. So I put a presentation together for him because I wanted to get into land clearing. I don't know, like Matt, I don't know if your skid steer, well, yeah, your skid steer would be able to do this, or if you guys have ever seen something like this. Are you familiar at all with like forestry mulching,
Oh yeah.
or like big drum? Okay, so I saw one of those, I forget where, probably on TikTok or YouTube or something, and I was like, holy cow, that thing is sweet. that's what I want to do. Knew nothing about land clearing. So I put a big presentation together. I put a balance sheet together, a bunch of stuff together for my dad. Listen, I need X amount of money. This is your return on investment. At the time, I had no idea. I had no idea how much it costs to run one of these, but I was spitballing. And he was like, I like your idea, but not for me. I don't know that industry. I'm a painter. And I said, all right, that's fair. But he said, take this to somebody else. And I was like, okay. So I got on Google and looked up land clearing contractors around me. And 3 or 4 came up. I called every one of them and I got one answer. So I met with the guy probably 2 or 3 days later. I showed him the presentation and he said, when can you start? And from there, that's how I got into land clearing. He had already had equipment. He was never really into the whole land clearing space. He was more or less, they would do all kinds of different residential work, whether it be, basement digs or retaining walls or, the forestry mulching jobs here and there, but it was never full scale land clearing. And I came along and immediately with my background and my degree and stuff, I was like, we should chase a lot of this MDOT work. There's so much right of way clearing for road construction, utility construction. And this guy was always like, I don't know, like, sure, let's see what you can do. So I got just infatuated with, the MDOT work. I got on all those bidding websites and continued to chase this work until finally one hit about 3 months in. And when the business owner I was working for kind of saw, I bid the job and he saw what his return on investment could be from that single right of way clearing job. He was like, oh, all right, like we could do these. So I went through, and at the time I couldn't get the MDOT pre-qualification because we didn't have a lot of references, because you can't, you can't throw a builder on there and be like, hey, we cleared a 1 acre lot, like, let us do this. So I went, straight to the counties and the local municipalities where we could get into some of that work and you didn't need that MDOT pre-qualification. So we did a couple right-of-way clearing jobs throughout the winter and got our first really big one with Livingston County, actually, for the Matt, I'm sure you know this road, Crooked Lake Road. They paved that road back in the spring. So we did the right-of-way clearing for that job through C&D Hughes.
Okay.
And from there, we were able to get the MDOT pre-qual, and things just, and this happens a lot. I was never able to see eye to eye on what I thought I was worth. Likewise with, the owner of the other company, and said, you know what? I don't know about the land clearing. And what actually happened was we did a water and sewer hookup, kind of on the side, because when, people aren't clearing land 24/7 unless you're the, the Langs of the world and the EWS and the bigger companies. So we would, dabble with some of the other stuff. And that's when I got into some of this underground utility work. And I was like, ooh, I think I like this more. And that's what drew my attention to that. But I mean, it's a crazy, spiral how it all happened. But the right of way clearing and stuff, I was really drawn to it. I thought it was super cool, but it just, I saw, what it does to equipment. And as far as like depreciation on equipment, which is a huge thing, it's really, really hard. The numbers are great, but it's really, really hard unless you have skilled people in those positions to keep afloat, especially trying to compete with those bigger companies, in the development space. So like neighborhood developments and stuff, we tried 1 or 2 cracks at some of those for, some smaller 10, 15 acre neighborhoods with, 40, 30 units in them. And it just never panned out as well as we had liked it to. But the right-of-way clearing was always good. It's hard in the state of Michigan because the utility right-of-way clearing is next to impossible. And I shouldn't say impossible if you're not an IBU, it'd be in the IBU union to do the utility clearing. So I was kind of like, maybe land clearing's not for me. And that's what led me to the excavation side of things. But to answer your question, I mean, the land clearing, it really just kind of fell into place. I never really, intended on doing that. I think it was more the machines that drew my attention. Hopefully that answers your question. I know I kind of got off on a tangent, but.
So what kind of iron do you own now, or do you lease everything?
So and this I tell people this too, and everybody's kind of like, how did you manage to do this? But I immediately went to the sources like I did with you and Jason at Schaefer. I just would I make it a point every day to call 5 new people. That's my bread and butter. And if I don't call them, I'm showing up at their office and shaking their hands and giving them some cards and just telling them about me. Um, and I got on the phone with a big water company out of Michigan. They do a lot of water infrastructure and water mains, and got hooked up with them and explained to them what exactly I want to do, what, you know, I have dreams and aspirations of doing. And they said, hey, we have a lot of equipment we don't use, everything ranging from a 315 excavator all the way down to a 303 excavator and numerous skids, skid steers, loaders, and basically worked out an agreement with them. uh, I'm basically allowed to come and go as I please, and I pay a rental price for all their equipment. And it's worked up until this point. I'm getting to the point now where maybe a little bit too much for them to handle, because I'm like, grabbing 2, 3 pieces of equipment at a time, and they do run into situations where they need that equipment, and it's I know further as things continue to progress, I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to have to fork over the money for some equipment. But currently, all I own right now is my pickup truck and a gooseneck trailer that's capable of towing 25,000 pounds. I have a CDL, so I'm able to, haul a little bit more behind a pickup truck safely. Am I going to do that in, 3, 4, 5 years when I have the right equipment, and semis to do so? No. But for right now, it allows me, to do some of the smaller jobs and also attack some of these bigger jobs with some bigger equipment, between, talking with another trucking company that moves a lot of my equipment too. And I've also done a lot of work with McAllister and Alta as well. I have great relationships with 2 salesmen there, and they really help me out. So right now it's strictly rentals. It's worked for me. It's been really close to biting me in the ass sometimes. Excuse my language, just because with rentals, if you only account for being on a job 3 days and you end up being there 4 days, it can really, really hurt you. And I've been really, really close, but it's kept me on site till 10, 11 o'clock some nights, and I've been able to get it done. But I will get to the point of having to buy something. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what I think I need in my arsenal to become the most effective and efficient, while still renting other pieces of equipment.
I tell you what, man, I mean, I think that's a really smart way to do it, especially just starting out. I mean, you can get upside down real fast buying
Yep.
heavy equipment, right? And we have some earth workers that we work with a lot. And I was talking with the owner a couple months ago, rather, out on one of our big job sites in Livingston County. And he was just bitching up a storm. He's like, dude, like, it's awesome being able to say we own all this shit, and we have it whenever we need it. And they don't have the time restrictions like you were saying with rentals. He goes, but every time the friggin' thing breaks down, it's 20 grand. He goes,
Yeah.
or it's 15 grand, 30 grand. He goes, and it's just, it's good problems to have, right? Because
Yeah.
once you get to that level, you can hopefully manage it. But
Yep.
starting off, man, you did it in a different way than a lot of people do, right? You got in ingenuity going through your veins, and you reached out to kind of different avenues from what like the average guy who's like, I need to rent and lease equipment does. And I don't know what your rates are, and I don't really care, but that's a good way to do it. And start small, keep it controlled, man, because
Mm-hmm.
the worst thing you can do in this industry, and really any industry, but in construction especially, is if you try and get too big too fast and stock up on every tool you could possibly imagine you need, that shit can snowball out of control really, really fast also.
Yes, sir. Very quickly.
Yeah.
Um,
So just real quick, here's the deal. Nobody cares. Like you like understand this. Nobody cares what you're where you're getting the equipment. They care about a job done,
Yep.
right? Like how many, so again, I was in San Diego. There was probably, I don't know, ballpark million and a half square feet of commercial or of office mixed use um, space on the waterfront in San Diego being built. Do you know how many Sunbelt rental pieces of equipment I saw? Right?
Yeah.
Nobody cares so long as
Yeah.
the job gets done. So like don't ever take that it's an ego problem, right? If you want to own it, it's an ego thing, not a like financial good decision most of the time.
Yep.
Unless so the only time I've seen that work is so I have a really good friend I went to high school with. He's in the land clearing business in Southern Oregon. And one, he is a pretty good mechanic. His brother is the best mechanic I have ever met, could fix anything that had wheels.
Yep.
Um, and unless you are one of those two types of people that could fix like just about anything, rent it because they will take care of it and do the maintenance.
Yep.
So, like when it comes to a lot of this stuff in especially the heavy equipment world, one, you can't find mechanics to save yourself, so you might as well just deal with the rental guys because they do it. And then in where I am in California, they run some very big equipment to do all the orchards. The amount
Oh
of
yeah.
like D6 and D8 dozers, and I think some of those guys run a D10, which is just insane. To clear these fields, and you're talking thousands of acres to do it. And the amount of just wear and tear they put on these things is pretty incredible. And they don't have to worry about emissions because they're ag, so they get
Yep.
around all that stuff. So, but point being, like for a lot of this stuff, to Matt's point too, I think a lot of people put themselves in a bind that they do unnecessarily, right? They take jobs because they feel good about it, not
Yeah.
because it's like necessarily the best financial decision, not the best business decision. They do a lot of things for ego and like to say that they got that big job, even though they're not going to make money on it. I see this all the time in design firms. You know, they take jobs and frankly, they're not the best financial investment or business decision that they've ever made, but they do it. And there's sometimes they need to take those jobs for a portfolio for the next jobs, but they do a lot of those over a period of time that just wreck the firm. So like be cognizant of the jobs that you take. And this is for all of our listeners too. Like you guys know what I'm talking about in those ego jobs, and there are portfolio builders, and then there are just ego jobs that you take for no good reason and you
Yeah.
don't make money on. So starting out, man, like you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing. And congrats on having your CDLs. Like that's a big job or a big deal to have those, and then just um, like anything else, don't be stupid and lose it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's I see guys not necessarily in the CDL side, but like again, being licensed, right? Like when you start holding licenses for a lot of things, you got to not make stupid decisions. It's not that you have to make smart decisions. It's just don't be dumb.
Yep.
So,
Narrow.
and I think a lot of our listeners can relate to these things. Is again, man, you're on the right track. You're doing the right things. And I think a lot of people can learn from it. But my next question is, what was like maybe the big transition from granted you were helping build firms do M.dot contracts, do pre-quals, that's stuff that most people don't really get into for a period of time, right? Like most people don't jump into doing pre-quals and M.dots and like all that type of stuff and actually bidding on work, as young as you are. So what was the like maybe big transition that you had from doing stuff for somebody else versus for yourself?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Um, I guess so and if I answer this incorrectly, just tell me. But what I'm
There's
sort of
no wrong answers.
yeah,
So
what I'm sort of taking from that is, and where I found a niche actually is rather than I took my knowledge from what I gained in the right of way clearing world with the M.dot work. It became fairly easy to me to kind of decipher it because of they make it pretty easy for you if you can figure it out. And a lot of people don't take the time to figure it out, right? You have your bid tabs, all the numbers are right there for you. So if you can figure out exactly what it's going to cost you, it can become pretty easily. So when I would, send these quotes for just the right of way clearing, I'd see other things on these bid tabs like, man, there's like 14,000 square yards of restoration on this. That's literally a skid steer, 4 or 5 laborers, some rakes and some hard work, and you can go make some decent money. And but I never, you want to stay focused on what you were doing at that time. I saw things like that. I saw things, a lot of the DNR jobs that went out this past summer. There was a lot of retaining walls, and those were another thing that caught my eye. Like, man, like, and I'd always ask too, because I became close with some of the contractors I worked with in the right of way clearing world. I'd ask, like, you guys have people that'll bid the, your slope restoration or turf establishment or some of these retaining walls? And they're like, no, not really. Like, we're either going to do them in house or we'll just kind of find somebody last minute. Granted, there's people out there that do it, but they were far and few in between. And that's what kind of like it clicked in my head. I was like, maybe. And when everything, I kind of went off on my own, I was like, I could attack that. I mean, as long as you have the right insurance and everything in place, you can go out there and do it. So that is what I have chased a lot of, is a lot of the turf establishment, and it seemed to work really well for me. It and again, and not to say, I'm not just chasing, a lot of the SEMDOT work, because there's also a lot of these, commercial buildings that go up that call for sod, or like, for instance, another thing I've been chasing a lot of is just maybe, and I talked to a lot of earthwork contractors, like, hey, would you be interested in getting a quote just for me to do this retention pond, and basically turnkey retention pond. So I'll go there and basically do all the earthwork in the little corner on the retention pond, and I'll handle all the, the restoration involved. Um, and that's where I'm currently at. I chase a lot of that. I'm constantly surfing, again, these websites, Builders Exchange of Michigan, just all these different websites, and like I said, still reaching out to other companies and just putting it in their ear. I To be honest, my phone is what helps me a lot. It's easy to call and just talk to people. I love talking to people. It's my favorite thing to do. I could talk somebody's ear off all day long if they'll listen, but a lot of people are like, all right, I got other stuff to do. But yeah, I hope I kind of hit that, you know, as to what you were looking for. If I didn't, I apologize, but that's kind of where I'm at with things. Is I saw that there were other, areas where, I could I guess, what's the right word? I could, make something happen with, and that's what I attacked right away.
You're creating your own niche market, your
Yeah.
own niche provider, right? That's huge, man.
Yeah.
Are you working primarily as a lone wolf, or do you have a crew? Do you have guys with you?
Yeah, so I have, the first thing I did, I have a buddy, extremely knowledgeable in the accounting space. Um, I I told him immediately, we need to structure some sort of deal. He has a full-time job. He's in, he's in the white collar world. He works currently for somebody, but for him to manage my books on the side and make a certain percentage off my profits immediately, he was like, great. And people always say, don't hire your friends. I knew right away. I've been good friends with this guy for a long time, and it's in a sense separate. And I always tell him all the time, like, one day when this is big enough, I hope you can quit your job and be my CFO, because I want nothing to do with that. Math is not my strong suit. Accounting is not my strong suit. So he was the first hire I made, kind of with a deal like, help me out for a while, and I promise I'll take care of you in the end. Um, and then I went out and did a couple jobs, alone for the first couple, weeks and months. And finally I was like, okay, it's time to find some people. And I just put believe it or not, an Instagram post out there, because like we had talked about, Matt, the Instagram has always worked for me. And I have a lot of followers that are loyal, who have followed me from page to page and have always messaged me like, hey, I want a job. And coincidentally enough, a kid who's from Howell reached out to me. I'm looking for a job, and I said, what experience do you have? He said, not a whole lot. And when he told me this, I was like, okay, he's a farmer's kid, so he grew up on a farm, and I was like, perfect. So he has helped me immensely. I got another good friend of mine with a degree from Michigan, who was kind of, lost on what he wanted to do, and I've been slowly teaching him how to estimate and surf these sites, so that frees me up to do other things. But currently, I unfortunately have to spend a lot of time on site between my full-time operator and training, and then I have some part-time guys I can call up and be like, hey, come run the rake for me. So that's right now. Let's just say 2 or 3 full-time guys, but they've helped me immensely so far, and I've kept them out pretty late.
I'm loving this conversation, man. Hiring somebody who understands numbers is the single most important thing you could have done, and you did it. The whole bringing friends in, I've heard that too. It all just depends on the circumstance. If you both share the same vision and you're both hard workers, and I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. And the farm boy thing, I mean, we've actually talked about that specifically on the show before. Jason, who you met in my office, is a farm boy, right? There's a different quality to these dudes. They know how to work hard right out of the friggin' womb. And they're great. They're hard workers. They're intelligent. They don't stop. They don't back down. I wasn't a farm kid. Somehow I still got that grit and that drive, but
they're a different breed.
It is, but it's a great combination.
Yes, 100%. I couldn't have been more. I mean, it was literally, there was no thinking involved right away. I was like, yes, 100%.
But you mentioned, sometimes you still get stuck on sites. I will give you a warning, man. Be careful, because one day it'll come, probably sooner than you expect, when you're so damn busy doing the sales and the estimate or whatever it is that you got to do to run the business, that you no longer have time to be out operating a machine. And you'll find like those times when you miss that shit, right? Because I can tell, like, you're cut from that cloth. Like, you want to be out there, you want to do the work, but you also want to own the business. So you gotta find that healthy balance. And for me, like, I started building houses. I would love to go build a house right now, or jump into put my tool bags on and work for a day with my carpenters. I get my fix by running my little Kubota skid steer around and breaking shit. But you got to find that balance, because there will come a time when you're pulled in too many directions to actually stay doing exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, it not that it happens, it's not super prevalent yet, but I find myself up till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night surfing these sites and answering emails, because I just don't have that time during the day. And it's part of owning a business. The work has never scared me. I actually find that, setting your alarm for 5 a.m. every day, and just as bad as it sucks and as bad as you don't want to wake up, it's the best time to answer emails and do the things like that, because nobody bothers me. I've got nobody trying to contact me. I've got nothing to worry about but just that. So I kind of try to set aside like an hour and a half every morning to do stuff like that, because if you don't, the last thing I want to do at 9, 8 o'clock is that. But every day is different.
Yep. For sure, man.
I mean, especially in the beginning, that's what you're going to have to do, and then as you grow, sounds like you're putting the right people in place as you get bigger, and doing those things to kind of weed you out of the somewhat day to day. But again, in the beginning, that's what you're just going to have to do.
Yeah.
And Matt, the reason you didn't get it is because you got beat upside the head with a 2x4 on a framing site. But
I'd love to hear that story.
That'll be a story over beers.
Because I'm a farm kid, so I got it. But with that, Dillon, any other like kind of last pieces that you want to leave our audience with, and what you've been doing, what's really helped you to grow? Obviously the 5 contacts a day, I think that's a great habit to have, and talking to people and doing that to, again, just get your name out there, especially, it's probably a little easier in a local area, and people know what you're doing. It's a known commodity, all that kind of stuff. But anything else you want to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I mean, really my whole goal with this whole thing is and I and I've seen this firsthand. I worked at a great company that was very employee oriented. My, you know, I'm not really doing this for myself. I want to do this to grow something that, that people come to work every day and they're like, I love this place. This is so fun. We do cool stuff every day. Obviously, everybody has bad days. There's not a single place anybody could work where there's not a bad day. But I really want to grow an employee oriented business that can kind of overtake a lot of these. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but there's a lot of earthwork contractors, underground utility contractors around here that just don't manage their employees very well. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's true and it's unfortunate. And it's not just Michigan, it's the United States as a whole. Um, it, it there's I mean, any given job site, any earthwork job site, any site work job site, there's a couple guys out there who, I mean, you can see it in their face and you'll probably hear it from their mouths like, man, this is the last thing I want to do is be here. And it, not only that, and like the mental aspect of things, a lot of people don't really gauge, and this is the construction industry again. A lot of people are very, hesitant to be like, man, I just don't want to be here today. I got so much stuff going on at home. That's another thing that's really important to me because everybody has issues from a mental standpoint, and it's really overlooked. I think it's a super good thing to touch on as far as in it, even if it's 10 minutes, in the beginning of the day, because I've worked a lot of places where it's like, nope, get to work. Like to be able to stand there and say like, yeah, well, like what's going on at home? What, is you seem like things are like off or whatever. That's never really touched on a job site. And that, it's the manly, like, oh, like construction. Nobody talks about that. That's one thing I am going to try and change. I want to see that, become a more prevalent topic in the construction industry as a whole, as far as like, all right, like, yeah, today just sucks. I gotta let this out. Like a lot of people hold so many things in, and I think that's what really causes and not only like like safety incidents, it's just like it 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 causes a lot of companies too, like not to be efficient. If you've got a guy sitting in, the machine just totally out of it, not paying attention, just I don't know. I don't really have a clear path as to where I'm going with this, but at some point I want to get, I want to be almost not a leader in the space, but I want to make it a point, and that's what I've done with a lot of these relationships I've developed through social media is, and again, like I mentioned, everybody I am currently friends with through the construction industry across the country. We all have the same mindset. We want to make this a better place to work because right now there's a lot of people who don't want to go to work every day. They dread waking up and going to work every day, and it's not good for you. It's just not, and it can be fun. I mean, look at what we do every day. There's a lot of people who have to go sit at a desk behind a computer 9 to 5 and don't get to be outside. We are outside every day, and Michigan sucks, December to March, but you can make it fun, and the camaraderie. Like I'm team oriented. I've always played sports growing up. I want to make it more plausible for people and the younger generation too, like I mentioned, just because it's that's where the social media stuff comes into, just because if they can see these videos of these badass excavators and dozers and stuff, be like, whoa, that is sweet. um it'll really help. So I just want to see this industry develop a better reputation than what it has currently, from a not only a like a mental health standpoint, but also just in general. I think it has a bad stigma, as far as like going to work every day and not necessarily being happy with your job. I think a lot of people take it for granted. So that's my goal. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it's definitely one thing I want to change.
I tell you what, brother, you got to be the change you want to see in this industry, and you are doing that. You're breaking the mold. I mean, you fit in this show perfectly. We'll put it that way. I don't even have anything else to add. Like you just nailed it. We gotta work together to make this industry great again, to make the trades cool again, and to get youth in. I mean, it's a small group of guys, of people doing this, what we're all three doing, but it's growing, right? And
Yeah, it
it's
is.
growing pretty rapidly. And I think as a as the economy does what it does and the country does what it does, we're going to see more of a shift back to trade work and to getting back in the field. It's going to happen. And to be on the forefront of that, the tip of the spear that's flipping that industry on its ass, it's where I want to be. And it's obviously where you want to be and host Dillon too. So just keep it up, man. I'm thrilled we had you on the show today. I know
Yeah, I appreciate it.
we're getting up against time here. I'd like to keep in touch and maybe have you back on, but certainly being local, let's continue the conversation offline.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Whenever you guys, I'm open to chat about all things construction. It doesn't, I'd love to, chat more about the social media sphere, how all that stuff plays a big part in it. Cause I'm like a firm believer in that is going to really make a difference as far as recruiting the workforce. And it's kind of repetitive because that's a big thing online right now. Like, oh, we need to recruit the workforce, like use the social medias and stuff. But a lot of people are saying it, but not doing it. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in closing, like I'll again thank you, Dylan, for coming on and sharing your story. It echoes a lot of the stuff Matt and I talk about here and behind closed doors as well and over some drinks that come up quite frequently. So I mean, for me, like, one of the big catalysts for me doing my own thing and really trying to make this a better industry for a lot of people was like I got shingles at 27 from just stress, and you go across the industry, it's why men die sooner than women is like we, bury down our feelings beneath the cake and beer. And that's where it kind of lives. And, it develops in a lot of different ways. We've had guys on that had tumors, that had cancer, that had all this stuff at young ages, at 30, 32, me, 27. Then you get older guys with high blood pressure and, they've had heart attacks or strokes or whatever, right? All this stress effectively manifests itself in various ways.
yep.
And, that's part of it. So not only does it go to productivity and like good culture and people want to show up to work, but like the health conditions that come up with that, right? Just people having health problems. And when a guy is, in the hospital, he's a real non-productive member of the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
So, we gotta look out for that too, and obviously it's not anything we want anybody to have or to deal with or, be a problem, but it is a real problem in the industry. We don't talk about it. We don't like set real expectations on when things are going to be done. We don't give ourselves enough kind of slack and timelines to get things done. We're working up against huge deadlines and unrealistic expectations, which again goes to communication, setting all those pieces. But again, that's a really big topic for another day.
Yeah.
So again, just to wrap up, man, great job in what you're doing and starting out, making the calls, talking to people. I think it's doing the right things. You definitely got the right mindset for it. And again, just make sure to at the end of the day, not burn out. You want to be able to set this thing up for the long haul. So take those weekends every once in a while for yourself. Take that day, those hours. Again, this is a long game.
Yeah.
You're still young in it, and as much as you can burn through and work that midnight oil,
Yep.
it will catch up to you at some point. And we've all
Yeah.
been there. And I think that's for young guns and guys that want to run. That's really the message. There's a lot of people that won't get off their ass and do anything, so that's not for you. But on the other side of that is, it's okay to take a day once a month and relax.
Yeah.
Take an afternoon, a couple hours, whatever it is, and then get back after it.
Yeah.
So again, appreciate you being here. Any last words, Matt?
Actually, I do. So one of my teammates has been listening to our show, and he actually got his mom listening. And they jumped into the Wayback Machine and were listening to one of my solo episodes back from January, episode 162. And apparently I was bitching about having to deal with some back and neck issues and some chiropractic work. So she's been asking my teammate, how I'm doing. So I just wanted to say, Mrs. L, first of all, thank you for listening. And second of all, I'm a healed dude. I'm a new man. I'm feeling great. So onward we go.
Cool. All right, guys, remember to share the show, and thank you all so much for listening. That's going to be this episode of the Construction Corner podcast. Until next time.
Thank you.